live? We're live on Facebook. All right, and we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Just thought I would sit down and do a Q&A for you guys and gals. I don't really have a current event today. For some reason I thought I was going to have one, and I don't know what it was, and I forgot what it was. So I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to chat with you lovely people for a bit. I don't know how long I'm going to run this one. I wanted to give people another one this afternoon because these tend to do well. But I'm actually feeling a little tired. I almost want to finish up my last bit of other client work and wind my day down, but I didn't want to not do, an afternoon Q&A here since I am home and doing this stuff. It's like I want to get one in, chat with people, answer questions, talk to people a bit, even if I feel a little bit tired and kind of want to end the day, so maybe get in here 30 minutes, an hour, and we'll just see how it goes. And I do have a couple client sheets to finish up before I call my day. But yeah, so as soon as you guys get in here, if you'd hit the like button and let's get some comments going. So I'll put this up so that we get everything in the flow. The middle of the day one was okay. We had a decent coffee chat. It was a little slow. Midday was okay. Do you like metal music? Yeah. I like a wide diversity of music, Keith. I like a pretty wide diversity, although my metal tastes tend to be a little more classic. Hey, Dingleberry, I'm going to give you a single warning. I have been getting rid of everybody who posts weird fetish stuff from now on. So I'm giving you fair warning. I will give you a fair chance, right? Before you jump in. But you're not going to get any warnings beyond that. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. You've been given a fair warning. I don't care what your kinks and fetishes are, leave them out here, right? Do you think that training is worth it? Depends on the person and what they're doing. If you're in a contact sport, it's 100% worth it. But we've already discussed this last time, right? No, night training can be worth it. Especially, again, you're worried about concussions, you're worried about neck injuries, any scenario where you're worried about that it can be worth it. I would be careful of training the front and things, though, with concerns for sleep apnea, right? And we got a lot of veins today. We are definitely veiny this afternoon, a little veinier, I think, than normal. What do you guys think? Right? What if you just want to look more masculine? I don't know that. Well, Dingleberry, here's what I would say. Just keep lifting weights. If you keep training your shoulder girdle and traps in general, your neck will get bigger anyways. Right? If your traps get bigger from lifting weights, your neck is going to grow to some extent. Anyway, it's going to happen. So if that's the only thing, you just keep lifting weights and keep gaining muscle. It'll sort itself out. Okay, well, that's fine. Hey, look, if you don't believe me, then feel free to go train your neck. But I feel like I've given you an honest and a fair answer. You can take it or leave it, right? It's kind of up to you to decide, right? But I've more or less given you my opinion on it. Now you're free to go run with that opinion and do as you please with your own life, right? But yeah. I don't know why I'm extra veiny today. I have no idea where that came from. I've had a lot of people say that a wider neck equals improved facial aesthetics and say it pulls the skin down. I don't see why it would pull your skin down. No, just being a little leaner would do that, right? So what most dudes are looking for there is just lose some body fat. Get a little leaner, man. Your face will look more masculine just from leanness as far as what they're pursuing, right? Just get leaner, bros, and don't get big old puffy moon face from bad diet or blasting the wrong drugs. It's relatively straightforward. Failing that, you can adjust your facial hair to get it where you want it if that matters to you. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think dudes are overly worried about stuff like that. Just get lean, build some muscle, and let your face lands where it will. Right? Because I can tell you what's not masculine is obsessing over that. That's definitely not going to improve your masculine attitude. How about them apples? That's what I would say to dudes. The moment you start obsessing too much over your beauty standards, you're not masculine anymore. Just stop. I'm not saying you shouldn't care at all about your appearance, mind you. But there comes a point where, it's like you're just going to be perceived as feminine anyways. Like women are going to be like, you're kind of a bitch. That might be how they're going to perceive you. They don't want to fight you for mirror space. All right, straight edge says, have you seen Jordan Peterson in really bad health right now? Probably no surprise. He doesn't eat any vegetables or fiber. He's probably in horrific health. North America says, question, I got some family visiting from the UK. I live in Texas. Do I have your permission to skip training over here for the week, or do I sneak away to train? You need to get to the gym. Why would you not train just because you have family visiting? You can take them to the gym with you. They can work out with you. Get their lazy butts to the gym. Get auntie under the squat bar. Get your cousin under the squat bar. And why they're here in the UK from Texas, you know what else they have to do. There's two important things, and I think we all know what both of them are going to be. Anybody care to take a guess what these two important things are going to be that they must do if visiting from the UK whilst in the great Republic of Texas? Yep, off to the range. Number one, they need some time on the AR platform. Number one. Number two, let's guess what the other one is. It may involve cooked meat of a specific genre. What Texas is most famous for, known for having the best barbecue in the world, generally speaking, and generally even British chefs agree on that part. That particular part is been even accepted by British chefs when they come over to the U.S. Texas has the best barbecue. You need to get them to some smoked brisket. All right, these are non-negotiable. All right, straight edge lifestyle, pneumonia, no doubt his silly meat only diet has contributed. Of course it will. Think in terms of immune health. All right, fiber, gut health, immune system, these are all correlated. If you do not have sufficient fiber to maintain optimal gut flora, if we go off the data we have, will your immune system be less than optimal? Of course it will, right? Fiber diversity in your diet affects your immune system strength because of the impact on your gut. All right. So yeah, it's absolutely contributing. So, and I'm not trying to be mean, but when all these carnivore weirdos die off finally, which isn't going to take too long at this rate, once him and Sean Baker pretty much kick the bucket, that'll be the end of their crazy ass quack cult movement. It'll be done. It'll be over. Smoked brisket is one of the worst foods you can eat. Use your mouth. But we're talking about as specific treats. Now, we're not talking about eating it every day. We're talking about as a special occasion. And I think visiting from abroad is a special occasion. I mean, I eat brisket a few times a year, but it's not something I eat on a daily basis. But even I do smoked brisket several times a year. But it fits into my food overall. Why is sports viewership correlate with masculinity in America? I don't understand that one either, to be honest. Football is mind-numbingly boring. Soccer and American football. I tend to agree. I think it's usually worshipped by people who are not doers. It's people who are too lazy to get fit. They sit on the sidelines and watch these sort of things. It lets them pretend that they're athletic vicariously through others. Instead, but what I don't understand is why people who do this do not decide, hey, I want to go be athletic. I should go work out and exercise and push a sled and squat and bench press and things when they see these sports. Right? Right? The difference is moderation on alcohol is still carcinogenic. Meaning, we're talking smoke. I'm not telling you to eat the sausage. I'm not telling you to eat all the nitrates. But the smoked brisket, because it's a delicacy, but I would classify it as something you should eat very rarely. Again, I'm not telling you to go have the barbecue once a week. Let's be clear. I think for special occasions, though, Texas barbecue, being the delicious cultural icon it is not the worst thing you could be eating by any means. But so again, I'm not telling you to go eat it every Friday night. Let us be clear on that. But on special occasions, yeah, absolutely. You know, occasional date night, occasional special event. A birthday. Like I think it fits a great role for things like that. But I see that with any sort of treat food, right? Treat foods in general should be reserved for special occasions and not something that Friday night doesn't always represent a special occasion. Makes sense? So, I mean, I would place it in the same category I would cake or ice cream as a special occasion type thing, you know? So we kind of fall back into that category with it. And I think that's a realistic way to frame it. Hit that like button, by the way. We have like 5 people commenting and we got 2 likes. This is problematic, y'all. Come on. Work with Coach a little bit on this one, guys. Get those likes up. I don't even know what I'm going to do with you people. I don't even know. Come on, hit those likes. But let's get back over into this dialogue. But I will accept the fact of the potential carcinogenic nature of the smoked brisket. Yeah, it should be seen as a special occasion food. But I think that people from the UK don't visit Texas on a weekly basis. So I think this, again, very squarely falls into that category. I appreciate that like button, Keith. You hit it right away. The North American, so yeah, you need to get Auntie under the squat bar. You got to get them to some Texas brisket, and they need a little bit of quality aromatherapy on the AR platform, right? I call it aromatherapy. Range time is aromatherapy. The smell of that modern smokeless powder, you know, very meditative, very therapeutic. Puts you in your place of zen. Right? And I'm super chill when I shoot, just like when I lift. You guys have watched me do rapid mag dumps and keep them all in a tiny group. I've done it on camera before. So, yeah, aromatherapy. Do you drink diet sodas once in a straight while, or you just cut them out? I only have them in social gatherings. So for me, diet soda is what I drink when I'm in a social setting where other people may be consuming alcohol. I'll drink a Coke Zero. Make sense? But it's not something I keep in my house. Like it's not something I buy and keep in the house and everything for the most part, you know, right? Good choice. I don't think they're really problematic though, to any great degree. Right. I was mostly a wine, but to some extent, Jaeger, sometimes tequila guy. I was mostly so when I used to drink in settings like that, I would either just drink Jaeger or just straight tequila. That was my thing. But that is long gone, and I don't want any of these poisons in my life at all. Stop drinking pop. I'll still never be able to see soda called pop without laughing. Just due to my own upbringing. The first time I heard it, I was at least 20 years old the first time I heard it called pop. But it was really funny to me. Stopped drinking pop for a few years, drank a Sprite and got a caffeine buzz from it. Water can, right? They call it a pop up north. It's a Yankee speak, right? Way up north of the wall, they call it pop, where the wildlings dwell. I was up visiting some family in Michigan who were living there for a little while. First time I heard it called pop, and they were all calling it that. And I started laughing. I'd never heard it before. Right? It's like, what did you guys call it? Like, it's called a pop. I can't do a Michigan accent. Call it pop. All righty then. Okay then. I couldn't figure out why it got that term. I couldn't make the logical connection of how they got the word pop. Like maybe popping the lid off makes a pop sound, or opening the can. So that's why they started calling it that. That's now that I think about it. I could never figure out the connection. So I suppose that's it, right? These slang terms developed somewhere. In Ohio, we call it, yeah. So you guys are up north of the wall, right? All the wildlings up there. Snap, crackle, pop. But that's Rice Krispies. That's Rice Krispies. It's just funny how different regional dialects develop in the slang terms and colloquialisms, right? Even in a language like English, because there's so many countries and regions that speak English, we have all of these different colloquialisms and, regional dialects. The different parts of the U.S. have their own, and then you go to different parts of the UK, and they're just so dramatically different in different parts of the UK because it's such a little small landmass, and they all have their own. They almost can't understand each other, right? Like I really struggled to understand the Scots when I was there, but Brits I could generally understand, until they got into Cockney type stuff, and then I don't know what you're saying. Yeah. In the U.S., they tend to be larger regions with similar dialects. Linguistics is a funny thing. But it goes to show that when we are put into different isolated areas where language develops over time, that even if we're all speaking the same language, if it's a living language, of how we all develop our own versions of that language. Right? Where the accents are different, the slang terms are different. It's like we can communicate with each other, but there's dramatic differences in the terminology. It's interesting. It's just saying it's interesting to note. Right? Yeah. So let's get a forearm rating. We got enough people in here. Let's rate the forearms today. How are we going to rate vascularity? Are we rating the veins? Or are we going to rate the forearms this afternoon? How are we doing on that? Let's get a forearm rating. What do you guys think? Right? We'll get a quad rating maybe during the week. Nobody has thoughts on the forearms today. Some of the guys will come in who care about it. They'll come in immediately. Like, oh my God, the veins everywhere. Vein City. The forearms look solid. Yeah, they're coming along. And that's just from pulling. Tons of pulling without straps is really how I did that. I do not, let me be clear, I do not have good forearm genetics. It's not like my calves and other stuff where it's genetics. I had little bitty skinny forearms when I started. Just throw away your straps. Do tons of rows and pulling and deadlifts without straps, and your forearms will generally get pretty big just by doing that. Right? It's the straps that shortchange you. The funny thing is, dudes would be like, well, I don't want to shortchange my back. And I'm like, how many dudes have monstrous backs who don't use straps? Tons. Like, do I have any trouble growing my back without straps? Come on, guys. They're just being silly. It's a cop out. Just making stuff more difficult. Just toss the straps, man. Right? I know, I get it. Stay strapped or get clapped, but that's a different context. I guess the exception being if you're going to do cheating movements and you're going to run a lot of drugs, then it's going to be hard to hold on. I mean, I get it. Do straps reduce muscle growth? Well, they're going to reduce forearm growth potential. The argument dudes make is, well, they can't, it will limit their back growth. But there was a study that looked at that and determined that wasn't actually true. It seems to only really be the case for dudes on significant amounts of anabolics, where their back strength, due to the size, will outpace their grip strength. Right? But realistically speaking, there's not many dudes out here rowing 315 plus for work sets to where this is really a true problem. You know, how many drug-free dudes is this really going to be a concern? Not many. You know, and even then, are they really that shortchanged where they're still not going to have a massive back? You know, come on, guys. Yeah, 315. I can do it with cheat rows, and I strap up for that. But even look at the size of my back. When I do really strict rows, I don't go over about 225, 235 strict. And if I cheat a little, even off the floor, it's like 275. Like, I've done bent over rows, cheat rows with 315 strapped up, but do I need that to build my back? And the answer is no. I think it's stupid to steroids. Well, steroids aren't enough to compete in bodybuilding. In modern bodybuilding, you have to use everything. Even men's physique and even the classic are on insulin and growth hormone and everything. At this point, they're just using less of it. You know, so it's not just steroids; it's all the drugs. Right. And that's what guys aren't understanding when they're seeing really serious bodybuilding. Dudes really think they're going to use a few steroids and a moderate amount of anabolics and that they're going to compete in that. I'm sorry. That's just not reality, right? You're not earning your pro card on 500 milligrams of mixed steroids with no growth hormone and no insulin. Just wouldn't generally worry about that, right? Right. And keep in mind, so you're using Larry Wheels as an example. What was Larry Wheels' admitted cycle in high school? Before Larry Wheels was even legally an adult, what did he say his first cycle was that he was doing at like 16, 17 years old? Anybody remember? Because he was public about it at one time. He talked about it in a video like in 2012 or 2013. Anybody remember? I do. You guys want to know what it was? 1.5 grams of test a week, and he was running 150 milligrams of anadrol a day, which is just over 1 gram a week. He was like 16 years old. Okay, he was a minor in high school doing stacks like that. All right. Well, no wonder the dude with his genetics is so freakish. You know, he wasn't even an adult, and he was blasting like that. Like, that's crazy, right? That's just, to me, that's just ludicrous. You see heavy drug use, even at small. Yeah, I've seen regional. All right. So, music, I've seen even at regional powerlifting meets, powerlifting, I've seen stacks that would blow your mind talking with dudes. Right. Someone I know personally who I consider a friend. And he was a master's lifter, so he was an age class older than me. Now, he only benched 300 pounds, but he pulled 700, right, at this time. Do you want to know what his stack was going into the meet? He started going down the road. And he was like, all right, well, I'm doing, 100 tren acetate every day. One, he's like 100 test prop every day, 50 test suspension a day, 100 milligrams of anadrol a day, or like 150 anadrol every day walking into this meet. Dude was like 42 years old. This was not nationals. This was a regional, like, qualifier meet. This was a regional meet. So step back and think about what he was doing every day. You start doing the math. It's like, wait a minute, that's 150 tests, 100 tren, like whatever, 100 anadrol, like whatever. I think what it all added up to. For long, you're like, it's like 350 milligrams of fast-acting, potent stuff. These are all stronger every day. It's basically fast-acting test, tren, and anadrol. So it was like 350 milligrams a day, like his final 6 weeks going into the meet. Dude had a crazy deadlift, but he benched less than I bench right now. My work sets are heavier than his meet bench. Doing that. So, before you even get into bodybuilding, hell, even powerlifting. So you have to look at it from that perspective of how hard dudes go. Now Larry's not that old. Like, people take this stuff too far. They go way too far. Whereas, and I've kind of told guys, if you're gonna cash in the natty card, very carefully think it through before you even go over like 500 milligrams a week. And I would say that to dudes, because plenty of dudes are going to use gear. It's going to happen. And I say this to clients. I say this to people who do gear consultations. Seriously think it through. What is it you are really trying to accomplish? Even if you're already enhanced. If you're going over about 500 milligrams total a week, like, you need to seriously assess what your goals are at that point. What would you say is approximately the test someone could run safely, roughly assuming everyone's tolerance is different? I don't know that there is a safe number there, Dean. So are we talking all people, or are you talking fit people? Okay. And I think that we need to make that differentiation. Are you talking about people who are under 20% body fat, who lift weights and do cardio? Or do you mean just everybody? See what I mean? Those are two different things. Now, if someone has their other lifestyle factors there, I would say the majority of dudes could probably do up to 200 with very minimal, if any, health risk. 250 might be pushing it, depending, So we're assuming we're looking at people who maybe have genetic predisposition. That's probably the upper threshold. Someone who's very genetically tolerant to a lot of problems, maybe 500 or 600 milligrams, but that's not going to necessarily be the average guy with certain genetic predispositions towards different health problems. But even then, I don't want you to take those numbers to the bank and say, well, Jason Blaha said, do you see what I mean? And then you develop some problems. So this is kind of the point I would make. But even 200 for some guys, 200 is a high replacement dose that their doctor might even prescribe. For some people, you'll still be inside the reference range on that medically. So I think, have you ever heard of, yeah, I know what that is. I don't think I've ever, and there's nothing wrong with Darth. Unless you have a reason to cash it in, I see nothing wrong with you just staying natty, no problem. What do you think? I don't know. Like I couldn't speculate. I haven't even gone to look at him. I don't even know what he currently looks like. And I quite frankly don't care. Why is he doing Boldenon daily? That seems very strange. Exactly 37 tested. That's weird. That seems rather odd. I wonder how he's coming to that. And dudes who want to pen daily, I got to wonder what's wrong with them psychologically to really want to pen every day. There's no medical reason to do so. That's all forum lore that endocrinologists have debunked, by the way. Very strange. Coach aiming for 315 for 5 this week. I don't know. I'm just going to get what I can get, Marcinio. I don't know that I'll get 5 reps on 315, but I got 4, couple workouts in a row. But that 4th rep was heavy, right? So all those sets of 4 with 315, that 4th rep was heavy. Like I was working. Like those were not easy. I know 100% I got an easy fit. Hey, music, you're asking me to go way back into history. I want you to be clear. I want you to think about how far back you're asking me. My mindset when I was in my 20s and the social environment I was in when I'm 48. So here's my answer. Do you think my answer is going to be accurate or even if I believe it's truthful, even if I believe it is it really going to be an accurately truthful answer of me trying to assess as a 48-year-old man why 20 something years ago in the social environment I was in, I did my first cycle? If I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to give you an accurate answer to that. I'm not convinced I can do that. I can tell you how it went down. Hey, dude, Joe over here is going down to Mexico to get his stuff. We noticed you've got a good base. We're going to help you out. So we're all chipping in. He's going to go down to Mexico and get all this stuff. So Joe, tell him how much it'll be for his first cycle. You'll pick it up and bring it to him. You in, kid? That's pretty much how it went down. Now, what do you guys think I should do? Yeah, you should do some tests in DECA. So that's pretty much how the conversation went down to the best of my memory. Yeah, man, you just knocked out a double with 405 really easy on the back squat. Shit, you're ready. All right, so Joe's going to get you some Sustanon amps and some DECA Durable and and some Clomid for PCT. Pretty much how it went down, dude. I've learned that simply adding 5 reps to your rep PR is not even in the same ballpark, right? You ever tried? I'm Alan. There's no reason for me to come off. Why would I? If my age, who am previously okay, that's a good question. Have I ever come completely off and then came back with low tests on the blood work? Yes, and went back on. Yes, I have done that. I'm not going to walk around at 270 nanograms per deciliter. Why would I do that to myself? I think Dr. Todd Lee, I don't know who that is, told him daily pinning is best for, yeah, that's bullshit. Sam says, Jason, what's your opinion on the 20 rep squat program? I mean, I've discussed with the makers. I don't think using it for bench or anything is going to produce anywhere near the same result. Absolutely not. I think using it for bench is going to do nothing but beat your shoulders up. Is it once you open that box? I say in a way, yeah, you can't. You probably are not going to be able to close it. So I tell guys, if you decide you're going to do gear, think of it as a wedding ring, right? It's a serious commitment. So once you take that first shot, think of it as serious of a commitment as putting a wedding ring on a woman's finger. That it's a very probable lifelong commitment that you just made before God. Not saying 100%, but that's more or less where you're at. So think of it in those terms of seriousness. You may not ever be able to fully come off. So it's a pretty good chance it's a lifelong commitment. And I say don't roll the dice if you can't pay the price. But as far as that, no, I wouldn't recommend it on anything but the squat. I think people go too far with taking something that's was a very effective protocol developed on the back squat, which is a full body exercise, full body movement, and thinking they're going to do it on a smaller exercise. It's a little more joint intensive. I don't think you're going to get the result that you want because there's a conditioning systemic component to it with that. Do you think a low dose of D-bol would affect cardio? It could, depending on back pumps, maybe. Coach, thoughts on pull and leg the same day? Well, considering I squat, bench, and deadlift on all three of my training days. So what do I do for every workout? I start my workout with the back squat, the bench press, and the deadlift, like straight up the start of the workout. So I guess I'm pretty cool with that. That's how I train right now. Right? Does your bench feel better? I can't say that there's any difference at all with it. I can't say that I notice any difference in my performance or bench in any capacity after squatting. For me personally. Not that I can ascertain. In terms of neural drive. So I feel like I answered your question. I can't say that I feel any difference at all or can determine any difference in performance personally. If there's a difference, it's too small for me to gauge it. Right? But Alan, back to your question about coming off, I'm on a replacement dose of tests. It's like, and there's no reason for me to try to come off. Why would I? I've previously had some low testosterone on blood work in the past. Testosterone improves my primary medical condition, right? Because one of the issues with my Meniere's disease, with it being an autoimmune issue, is that it elevates cortisol, but testosterone pushes my cortisol back to the normal range. So there's even a medical benefit. So let's set aside the, being able to take a woman to Pound Town for an hour. Let's set that to the side and let's talk purely by medical. I get a personal medical benefit due to a secondary complication from a pre-existing medical condition I have that is mitigated by it. When will you run? Well, I have no current plans to run conjugate again, so I don't have an answer to that. Would you ever consider making peace? Why would I do that? Hey, Tychus, why would I make peace with a person who isn't a real human being, who made 26 hours of hate videos against me that caused myself and members of my family and loved ones to be stalked? I'm going to ask you a simple question. I would make peace with him. Oh, did I ever? No. What would be the minimum requirement? I would need him to off himself as restitution. I would be willing to make peace with him if he was willing to end his own personal existence. I would be willing to call it even and make peace with him in that case. I think that's reasonable. but he needs to do it on camera. So I would make peace in that situation. I think that would be fair. I'd be like, dude, all right, we're even. I'll forgive you. So, and I think that's reasonable restitution. So short of that, and with a big apology as he did it, I think that would be reasonable. So why would I make peace? I mean, the easiest one to make peace with would be Alpha Destiny, but he'd need to apologize for all the equipment he damaged with the rack pull fiasco. I know, but I was very careful in my wording. So for me to make any peace with Strap-On, I do feel like he needs to make an apology to the community and the gym owners for all the barbells his followers destroyed and the equipment they damaged as a result of his bad advice. So if he's willing to do that and make an amends, we could make peace. But you have to at least apologize for your wrongdoings to some extent. Does that make sense? But Vegan Gains is a sociopath. You can't really make peace with someone like that. Right. But I'm not saying he needs to make financial restitutions. He should at the very least give the community an apology. And I don't think that's unreasonable. Right? Because he did do a lot of damage to a lot of gym owners' equipment with that silliness. So, I mean, a simple apology, I think, would go a long way on that. I don't think that's asking much. Like, does that sound unreasonable? He's like, hey, guys, I did something really dumb when I was young and stupid. And I didn't know any better. And my advice caused thousands of barbells and racks to be damaged and probably some injuries. But you know what? I apologize. I was wrong. It was silly. I'll do better in the future. I'm sorry. See how that would work? He goes, it was like a decade ago. I was young and dumb. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'll do better in the future. And then we would all go, you know what, man, that's cool. You're a grown man now. You were a kid back then. You owned up. Right? And I would forgive it. I think most reasonable people say, yeah, man, that was a long time ago, dude. You know what? It was silly. And a few racks got damaged, but they can be replaced. At least no one's promoting it anymore. Right? And I think people would be forgiving. All right, we got Paul over here with his perverted, weird question. So, his weird, perverse question is vote time. Do we kick him off the island? Is it a kapow or does he go? Should he stay or should he go now? Define gives a kapow. Marcinio gives a kapow. Anybody voting to let him stay? Weirdo pervert in the comments. Democracy, there we go. 3 kapows. Ryan's a client who pays. Paul, you're not allowed to vote for yourself. You're not on your own jury. 4 for kapow. We're going to warm it up. You got to get a little bit of shake. And bake. Kapow. And he's out of here. First kapow of the stream. Out of the way. This is democracy in action. Like I'm pro-freedom, guys. You were found guilty and sentenced by a jury of your peers who observed your behavior firsthand, who saw it as witnesses. That's it. Justice has been served. And I appreciate everyone who contributed to the democratic process. This is the American way. Is 300 test, 300 Boldenon a reasonable first cycle in 20? I think it's a little aggressive. Not unreasonable. I think it's a little aggressive. I love democracy in Palpatine's voice. Congrats on the 115K subscribers. Well, thank you, Dean. Some people unfollowed yesterday when I crashed it. When I pushed past it, they unsubscribed, right? But then it kept going back up. So, it kept going up. And it's still going up. Would you dial back the test? Depends on if you personally get an AI effect from the Boldenine, which is a very individual thing. You might need some blood work. But I don't give cycle advice in here, dude, because again, I'm also on Facebook. So I'm not really going to give you advice on how to break the wall. That being said, if you want to do consultations, I'm more than happy to do consultations for that. I do gear consultations for people as a professional service. And there are people who come through these streams who have paid for them, and they'll tell you that. I mean, for the golden YouTube play button, right? That gold, man, that's a long way. I'll be in a good place if I ever get that gold. I don't know what I need to do to get that gold. Well, we need those subscribers to keep going up. I don't believe in block periodization, Anderson, but let's go. During a 4 to 6 week block of training, strength focus, should I be focusing on how weight feels when increasing it every week, or just focus only on increased weight every week? Now, you'd be focusing on how it feels. Living next to the border, buying gear so easy. Well, we're not in that world anymore, dude. Everything is boutique. For everyone who's serious about gear, it's all boutique, man. It's all personal labs from reputable dudes, right? Coach, do you add weight to dead things? I have. I haven't been lately. I don't use any periodization. I don't use any periodization at all in my training. My training blogs are up, though. I mean, I document all my workouts. I have a lot of experience coaching gear. Rosit. Not anymore. You don't for a decent price. No, you do. You got to know the right people. It's just certain things are not obtainable. Best of luck getting primo. Yeah, Keith. I mean, if you're needing help with that, let me know. I do those consultations. Not a big deal to me. But I'm going to give you very sane, careful advice. Like music, I can't tell you where people get all their stuff. Like, again, I'm not going to explain to people how to break the wall over live streams. It's not a new shirt, please. This is an old shirt. I have a bunch of these in different colors of this exact same shirt. I kept buying it at the same store. I just liked the fit. It still fits really good. I got a bunch of them in this different colors. Right? We got another person asking about Doc Inc. We voted the last one off. Are we ready to do this? I'm familiar with Ivan in his squad every day. Defiant gives Torpedo a kapow. Doc Inc., for those unaware, is a channel obsessed with getting a bigger Pinot. The guy's entire channel was built around strategies to get your junk bigger. That's a whole topic of his channel. Right. So, anyone else voting to get rid of him? We already got one kapow to get rid of the Torpedo. One kapow. Anybody else? Imagine having to worry about, right? Exactly. No, what are we going to give him one more chance, man? We got 2 kapows. Hit him with the kapow. There we go. Shake and bake. Kapow, booyakasha. He's out of here. Get out of here, Torpedo, with your perverseness. Yeah. It's all good, Max. We got enough kapows. Thank you for your contribution to the democratic process, everybody. Pow, there we go. Remember pro hormones? I do remember pro hormones. That was such a ridiculous scam. And a bunch of them were just designer anabolics, right? My lifetime PR on squat, we can only count what we've done on camera, not lifetime. So we will pretend I was never in my 20s, right? No, Alan, I don't know how to directly notify everybody. It appears in the feeds, whose feeds it appears in. But I've done 605 a little bit high with a camber bar on camera on this channel when I was at a heavier body weight. Do you think I can read faster than I can type? Well, you've seen me type 70 words a minute. People are like, Jesus, you're fast when they've watched me type to clients and stuff on here. But yes, I read very fast. If it's in the right format. I don't read left or right, by the way. Well, Alan may be a troll, but he's behaving himself, right? I miss George's name, a good old baby slayer. That was George's handle. Well, because I've said before, I don't want to discuss the lifts that I made before smartphones because I can't prove them. And then I just get called a liar. So I stick with lifts that I have done on camera, right? So I've benched 365 with a pause, both close grip and wide grip at different points on camera, for example. What I benched in my 20s at a heavier body weight on a decent amount of that there, cell tech, isn't really relevant. I read straight down. So do you know why George used the handle Baby Slayer? He had a whole backstory. And it's actually tragic. Right? So when you think of George Lehman, I remember George Lehman, he was a very troubled person. Like he dealt with a lot of personal struggles. But he also said, that's why I'm so strong. He goes, all of my trauma, I take it out on the barbell. Right? So the reason Lehman used that handle is that he grew up believing that it was his fault that his baby brother died. And so he thought of himself as the baby slayer and he felt guilt over it. It was something like because he prayed, because the baby, he was jealous of the baby. He prayed that God would kill the baby and the baby died. You see what I mean? And so he carried that guilt his whole life. That in his mind, it was his fault. He was guilty because he asked God to get rid of that baby. He was jealous of it. He was a little kid. And he carried that all the way through his adulthood. And so that's why he called himself on forums and stuff by that term. That was his guilty conscience. That's also why he deadlifted 900 pounds. He's like, I took out all that self-hatred and that anger on the barbell. So he literally, he's talked about it before. That's why he used that handle on forums and stuff. He's like, because in his mind, he's like, I carried the guilt of that the rest of my life. Right? Anderson, it's because they're using that much. They're using tons and tons. The guys who used it were using way less than these kids are using. It matters. You know, so it wasn't the hatred. Well, it was also genetics. It was also drugs. It was all of that, you know, with Lehman. So it all factored in, I think. But how much of that was in the hatred too? You know, he didn't mind if he abused himself a bit because he didn't see himself as worthy of survival anyways. Like, dude, he carried some burdens. All right, we don't need to keep voting for the Doc Kink. We've already voted the Doc Kink out. I'm just going to kapow this guy. Are we ready for it? Kapow! So, you know, so put that in context when you think of Lehman. He was really a tragic dude. Right, that's just an auto kapow. How much do you? Well, it was rumored that Mentor used up to 2 grams of nandrolone. Was actually the rumor, right? That was always the rumor. No, I wasn't best bros. I had a few conversations here or there with Lehman, but didn't really know him. You know, would say I knew him like that. Keith, if you could understand them, you should be locked up in an institution. Like I had a police officer ask me that with one of it when I was looking at some of the stuff. He's like, I don't understand the motive. And he's like, could you try to explain to me the motive? And I told him, I said, officer, that would be like me trying to explain the motive of that guy in Florida who took bath salts and ate his parents' face. Remember that guy? What was his motive? If I could answer that, you should probably arrest me. All right. I said, so if I could actually explain the chain of logic of the motive, you should go ahead and take me in for psychiatric evaluation. Like I should go ahead and be arrested and taken in to see a psychiatrist. If I could give you an answer to that. Max, I'm not going to discuss that. To understand insanity, one has to be right. So to understand that, you probably need to be close to criminally insane anyways. You know. Can we all? No, not really. Yes, it's a gang. So it's all gang stalking. So it's organized loosely. But again, do we need to really go over all that and discuss it? I'd rather not. The same people who make the videos and stuff. It's all the same people. Can I ask questions about cars? I mean, I suppose, but I'm not up to speed on current stuff. Are you going to ask me about small block Chevys? Or are you going to ask me about newer stuff that I don't know anything? Right? Let me be very clear. When you say engines, I'm going to be very specific. I didn't build, as far as cars, are we talking industrial engines or do you mean car engines? I have built one specific subtype of engine. Small block Chevys. So we do need to be clear on that. So if you start asking me questions about the 351 Cleveland, I don't know that I'm going to have good answers for you. Now, if you want to talk small block Chevys, okay, we could talk a little bit, you know. Right? Vegan Gains never bench 405 natty. Just stop. All right. No, my ex totaled the Ford Focus many years ago. She completely totaled it. Right. It's more about tools, specific cars. You can experience with the Harbor Freight. No, I don't. No, Harbor Freight is cheaper budget stuff. I mean, I bought some stuff there years ago. Yeah. Yeah, you can't believe he was that. Just stop. Just stop. So I haven't been to Harbor Freight in the last 10 years. Right? I haven't been inside of a Harbor Freight any time in the last decade to be able to confirm that. I haven't been inside of a Harbor Freight since my late 20s. So there's your context. You know. Okay. Anderson, I'm not going to discuss my personal life or any of my plans. I like DeWalt personally. As far as electric stuff goes, I like DeWalt. I was always happy with my Cobalt tools, though, as far as brand. I mean, I like Snap-on as far as tools, but I like Cobalt. All my Cobalt stuff got stolen, though. Someone broke in my truck and stole my entire Cobalt set. It was like $700-800 worth of tools. I like DeWalt personally. Just I'm considering being a client but terrified of trolls. Well, then don't be public. Hey, Blaze, like that seems silly. Then just don't tell people you're my client. Ryan's a client and he's in here. He posts under his real name. Over half of my clients are completely anonymous. I don't post any of their stuff. So why would you be worried? I have an encrypted messenger. They can't get into my messenger without any of my physical keys. So I have physical keys that you have to log into them. So it's not like they can get into it. Like my password's not enough. Would you train if you woke up and had a sore throat? Me personally, yeah. Hey, Blaze, I post videos of clients who give me specific permission to post their videos. Yeah, one of my friends who is an auto parts specialist speaks. I like Cobalt. Like, I really liked mine. No, I have physical USB keys. So you would have to rob me at gunpoint to get the main one. And another one's locked up in storage and so on. So, like, again, you'd have to commit a felony up to including murder to get a hold of one. So it would be relatively difficult. I prefer not to use blockchain. I prefer the USB keys. So that's also what Facebook recommends for pages like mine. They make me have dual factor security to even keep my page ownership. They require it. Like it's not optional. Keep in mind, I have a blue check mark page with over 100,000 followers. You try compression hanging, what does that mean? So that being said, Blaze, it's not like people could find out. Biometric login is growing, and when it becomes more mainstream, I'll probably switch over to that. Would you work with one of these meal delivery? And none of them have ever contacted me. There are ways to retrieve it, Blaze, but I have multiple keys. It's not one key. I have multiple. I have backup keys stored away. So, all right. So we're gonna get another Doc Hink follower. Kapow! And he's out of here. But no, as biometric stuff grows, I'll probably rotate over to that. I smell like a pow. You knew it was coming, Dean. I don't think we got any supers in this one. We got some in the middle one. All right. I got a fingerprint doggle to use with the sign ends and save tons of time. There you go. Fluffy, I don't know. No idea. I almost feel like you should be banned for asking that crazy nonsense. You guys talk way too much about these goofball trolls at this point. They don't need to be the degree of topic. You're breathing life into them, guys. You know, you're literally breathing life into them. All right. What's going on, Chad? Do you know what kind of exercises? It wasn't a single study. There's been meta-analysis on this. Hey, Blaze, you'll have to go look at the meta-analysis and see how they determined it. I think 405. Well, there's definitely a cardio aspect to it. Thoughts on clamping? What do you mean by clamping? Is this going to be another one of these? Here it comes. Should I just preemptively get rid of it? Could you tell us what clamping is, Stuart? Going back to the teenagers on ped question, most of them are benching 500. No, most of them are not benching 500 pounds. That's ridiculously, insanely rare. All right. Could you cite some examples? Thoughts on using rock climbing grip? I don't know what that means. Please. All right, Stuart, this sounds like another one of these weird Pinot questions. I'm just going to preemptively kapow you, and it's Booyaka Shah. Get out of here. Did you break yourself? Bouncing 500 with multiply and elbow wraps. There might be some of that. Shake and bake. Got to get a little bit of shake. Somebody got to type and bake. You guys got to be quicker on this. Learn to type faster. You're going to be like Coach. What is Booyaka Shah? Coach, I actually see more data showing cardiac trees are better for heart health. Are you basing? No, think about what we talked about with that data, but it also showed that there are mutually exclusive benefits too. So people who do both weight training and cardio have the best outcomes. But if only one was done, overall cardiac health was more improved slightly by strength training alone versus cardiovascular training alone. But combining the two together produces the best results. Let's see. So, Anderson, you're over here trolling at this point. It's very obvious. Yes, music, I do mind you asking. So, all right, since he's just throwing insults, we're not even going to vote on this one, guys. I'm just going to kapow him straight out. Kapow! So some stuff is going to be automatic, you know. Just direct insults, I'm just going to get rid of them. All right, and he's out. Best exercise for developing forms, pulling in general without straps. Let's see. That one's got to go by default. All right, kapow! I mean, axle bars can be useful, but pulling without straps is best. If vegans drink whey protein, all their issues would go away, pretty much. And now we're getting all these trolls. We're getting kapows, man. I'm going to get kapowed out here. Trigger finger, the band hammer going to get a little tired. The band hammer going to get tired. But it might be time to wind this one down, though, guys. It's run past an hour. We've been in here a while. I got to get a few more client sheets done for the night. So we might be at that time, guys. Are you a fan of, I don't know who that is. All right. So let me shut down the Facebook. I'm going to give you guys, not biceps before we go, I'll give you guys bicep shot before we go. Oh, now biceps. Have a good rest of the day, coach, and fellow Blaha boys. All right, guys. Take care, and we're out.